What's happening, Ike?
Fritzy, I'll let your boy.
Well, 2 days post-Kelsey, the city, maybe John Ritchie. Hopefully everyone is starting to recover from the loss of Jason Kelsey. He was in Cleveland last night making all the rounds. I saw him jumping into a table like Bill's Mafia, lit on fire. So I guess he's kicking off. He's kicking off retirement in style, I guess you could say, Ike. I mean, holy cow.
Well, I mean, listen, he's continuing what he's been doing for the last month.
That is true.
I'll give him that.
He did have his shirt off for a Bills game, Bills-Chiefs game.
Yes.
A week after the Eagles lost.
And didn't he drank from a bowling ball, right?
He drank from a bowling ball.
Yeah, he did that.
And the one thing he was not allowed to do, I think, from Kylie Kelsey was you can't jump off into a table.
Yeah.
But last night he said, bleep that.
I'm going for it. I'm going for it.
While being lit on fire.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he's living his best life. And back home in Cleveland, shout out to the Cleveland Cavaliers for, celebrating a hometown local hero, a guy like Jason Kelsey. When you talk about being from the city of Cleveland, being from that area, although there are plenty of athletes that come out of Ohio,
right?
Then I don't know how many of them have the same profile as a Jason Kelsey has, and who has worn this whole city of Cleveland on his sleeve.
So, Cleveland Heights.
Yeah, Cleveland Heights, whatever it is. Cleveland Heights, it's all the same thing to me. I'm from Cincinnati. And so that was pretty cool to see them sort of honor he and Travis last night with the bobbleheads.
Yeah, I mean, obviously thirsty.
Who's not these days?
I mean,
who's not these days?
If Travis isn't dating Taylor Swift, I'm not sure they're getting bobbleheads and being honored at the Cavs game.
So what?
Well, listen, it just confirms that Cleveland is a second-rate sports city. I mean, we would never do that here. We have Mike Trout bobbleheads if he retires. At a Phillies game, at an Eagles game.
They might.
No, they won't. We have some pride in this city.
I mean, the Eagles might. Who knows? They might.
Thirsty. It was thirsty by the city of Cleveland. I'm not going to put it on the Cavs.
I tell you, if Mike Trout were to win a world championship with the Angels, cementing his greatness as a player, we know that his number one sports team that he outwardly roots for is the Philadelphia Eagles. You would be surprised if the Eagles had some sort of night that celebrates Mike Trout. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know if you should expect it, but it wouldn't surprise me.
A Jumbotron appearance is fine.
He gets that anyway.
He does get that anyway.
As an active player, that's not a change.
And he gets a football.
That's what I'm saying. But when you win the championship and he becomes that guy who's won a championship, I mean, that's sort of where Jason is at. I don't know if the Eagles are Super Bowl champions, is everybody parading Jason Kelsey around?
Here's my question. Then I promise we'll get to the main topic of the day. If you're a Cavs fan, you're at the game last night. What's reaction are you giving Jason Kelsey and Travis Kelsey?
That's interesting. What did they do? Did they cheer?
It seemed pretty, good.
They cheered.
Yeah.
But
what are they gonna? What else
am I
gonna
get overly emotional? Because
yeah, we're gonna do.
I don't think they're crying.
I'm not saying boo. Yeah, we're not Richie. We're not crying. It's just
this is really.
We're not. I hope that was not happening in Cleveland last night. Man, Richie's going through it.
We cannot do that for 4 hours a day.
We can, and we will. But speaking of, it might be our side topic of the day. Speaking of Jason Kelsey, though,
yes.
He's gone. Fletch might be gone. Really, the pillars of the 17 team. Lane will still be here. BG will still be here. Mm-hmm. Rick Lovato and Jake Elliott. Yep. Obviously, special teams
matters.
It matters, right? Yes. But it's a little different. The kickers and what you did.
You don't have the same emotional attachment.
I don't know, man. Has Jake Elliott reached Akers territory yet?
Some people say he surpassed Akers.
Right, but I think we had a connection to Akers. We're working on the connection with Jake.
Listen.
What did David Akers ever win?
I try to back out of these sort of conversations because I'm always go with my teammates.
Well, I know. And
I'm going with my teammates.
And my problem is I was a young kid, so I was like impressionable, and David Akers is always my kicker.
I'm going with the Akers of the world and all of that. So, I'm going with my guys.
So, Kelsey gone, some of the pillars gone, and 2017, is getting further and further as a thing of the past.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to know, because I think the fan base has changed post-Super Bowl. Because, before the Super Bowl, it was 52 years. They're never going to win. There was anger. There was Negadelphia. They were called the Eagles. It was a different time period for being an Eagles fan. And them winning and really taking that pressure and the monkey off the city's back in a way. There was a couple years there, even when they lost the Super Bowl last year in 2022. Like, they lost the Super Bowl in 2022, and had that happen where this team had never won a Super Bowl, I don't know if the city ever recovers from it. I mean, it's a top 5 loss in the history of the city, but people, I felt like, got over that Super Bowl very fast for as big of a crushing loss as it was. They didn't get blown out. They had a 10-point lead and had a very good chance to win that game. But I felt like people got over it very quickly. And I'm just curious if your pre-2017, pre-Super Bowl champion thirst for the Eagles to get back and win a Super Bowl is back for you. Because for me, it's still not there. Like, they got the one, and I'm still good with it. I think that's why I'm like, build for 2025 and beyond. I don't need to be push all chips in. 2024 has to be the year.
Yeah.
My thirst for a Super Bowl is still not back, Ike.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. I mean, my goodness. The Phillies won the World Series in 2008. You want a World Series, right?
But when they lost,
this is not you're a Phillies guy versus Eagles guy. This is just me saying that's the last team that won a championship, and it didn't lessen the thirst or the desire to go out and win a championship.
But, I mean, the reaction when they lost in 2009 felt a little bit like how when the Eagles lost
the following year, yeah.
in 2022.
Yeah.
I think it took, honestly, that 10 years of not making the playoffs for the city to feel the passion for baseball again.
And I can go for that. And that's why I don't want to do that with the Eagles. So, listen, I'm not going to tell you how you should be feeling or what you feel. I'm just telling you what I feel. And it had the opposite effect on me. When you win a championship, for so many years, when you've had the failures and you've had teams that were worthy of winning a championship or capable of winning a championship, you start to question whether or not it's ever going to happen. Like, that starts to set in because of so much failure has built up. But when they won it in 2017, that let me know it was possible and that it could happen. And they got back to the Super Bowl 5 years later. That let me know that it was possible, the way they went toe-to-toe with the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. Like, that let me know that it's possible. So that made me more – to me, it made the desire to win another one higher. It just enhanced that whole burning desire you have inside you to want to win. Because, A, it was a great party in 2017. It was a great party, right? We're close. We're fast approaching 10 years that happened quicker than we really realized.
It was 7 years ago.
Yeah. So we're on the other side of 5, right? So we're heading towards 10.
We're about to do the whole. Would you take one Super Bowl for 10 years of losing?
And listen, I'm not going to trade the Super Bowl for anything. I loved it, 2017. I'm just telling you that winning that Super Bowl made me want to win more Super Bowls. Like, that's what it's done. And the team is in a position where that's what we should be desiring. That's what we should be looking forward to. No, it doesn't mean you're expected to win the Super Bowl every year. That's different than saying when we set out to start that season, my aspirations for that year is winning a championship. We can't necessarily say that every season. We're a realistic enough fan base that we don't say that every year with these sports teams. But with the Phillies and the Eagles, that's where we are right now. That's where we are right now. It's enough talent there. And the Eagles still have enough time to add talent to this roster. And that's why I'm saying that's what their mindset should be, going to win a championship. What I'm going to do, tell Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, and Devontae Smith, you know what? We don't have to try to win a championship this year. We're going to try to develop younger guys and see what we have as a core. First of all, that's an indictment on them as leaders on this team and as the best players on this team, is that we're more interested in figuring out who's the next guys of this younger core than we are trusting that these guys are the guys that can do it. So that's a slap to them in their face. They're not going to accept that. And that's why it's Howie Roseman's job. This is what he does. This is what he does. This is what he does. This is what I have faith in him doing more than anything.
And he's got $50 million.
Oh, he's got money to do it. He's got reasons to do it.
Yeah, the only concern I have.
Come on, man.
There's the two concerns I have about the cap space stuff is everyone has cap space because of the
Everyone doesn't have Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, or a city like the Philadelphia Eagles. I agree. Everybody has more money. But every team's chance to get to a title, your opportunity to shine on that team, to be on national TV, to be with a high-profile team in a major city, every team doesn't offer that. The Eagles do.
See, I hear it in your voice, Ike.
Yeah.
I hear the angst.
Yeah.
I hear the need to get backness of this team getting back to the Super Bowl and winning one again. And I want to know if that's back for people.
Yeah.
I do think the fan base had changed. I think for a little bit, and maybe
Well, they shouldn't have. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but I mean, the city got the one, and I think it's different between.
Trying to say they're satisfied.
I think what happened. I think there's a difference between what the Eagles should do versus how the fans feel. The Eagles, of course, like they're not going to say Devontae Smith and AJ. This is going to be a bit of a gap year,
right,
or whatever. But I'm curious because I hear you talk. It's passionate about getting back to the Super Bowl. Is that where the city is at, or are you still in the post Super Bowl glow of I got my one? I'll take a little bit of time here.
Yeah, there's nowhere I'm there.
215-592-9494 to get in on that. OG Wade's in Chester. What's happening, OG?
What's up, fellas? How we doing today?
Who better to start us off than you? You ought to know. We this championship, this is what we do around here, OG. Talk to me.
Well, we don't. Yeah, that's not what we do. But
I'm gonna say this here, because this is on my mind. Championship, yes, I do think we could win a Super Bowl, but we have a structural problem right now. And Jason Kelce said it on his podcast last night. Don't say much, but you got to learn how to read. He says that he feels bad that he's leaving after a season, a collapse of a season. He said it's a monstrous one that was, whatever, the worst, right? Mm-hmm. Now, when that happens, that means that some structural damage was done. That means that your foundation is damaged. So he don't believe that this team, foundationally wise, is there. And I also read in what he said is that there's some issues here. All right?
Yeah.
Those issues have not been dealt with yet. Now, we can say what we want.
What issues are we talking about that haven't been dealt with?
The locker room. The fragment in that locker room. Okay. Because one thing a team does not do, it does not collapse because of the play, because of an offensive play calling. It collapsed because something very vital to the team is fractured.
Okay.
That's what causes a collapse in the locker room.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Do you, OG? Do you
what
think?
Makes you think that hasn't been worked on, or that isn't under reconstruction right now?
Because I don't see the signs of it. I don't see the signs of it. The first sign.
What signs are we looking for? Yeah, what signs are we looking for?
The first sign would have been AJ and Jalen being at the Pro Bowl together. That would have been a sign of something to come and look for. Okay, this is going to get better.
So you're still assuming that there's an issue between AJ and Jalen.
Yeah, and here's how I feel.
Yeah.
I feel that Fletcher and I feel that Kelce tried to mend that. And because they could not mend that because of either one, Jalen or AJ didn't want to succumb to that or take the heed to that I felt like they felt like I'm not dealing, I can't deal with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not about winning now. And I felt like we had a tougher schedule, whereas though we overcame that schedule and we was at the bottom of it, we was at the weakest part of it that could have propelled us to the Super Bowl. And for that matter, you couldn't put those differences aside for the sake of the team.
But what are these differences that they can't be overcome? What are these differences that we're talking about? I don't understand what it is.
Well, that's the part that I don't know.
Oh, I'm surprised you don't know. You usually tell us the inside sources.
No, you gotta read. It's gonna come out. It's all going to come out.
Do you think that Jason Kelce would have retired if he felt like this team had a real chance to win a Super Bowl next year?
Absolutely not. No.
Do you think Tiki Barber would have retired if he knew the Giants were going to win the Super Bowl the next year?
Well, I don't know about.
I would say
Barber.
no. I would say
don't-
no. He would not have retired if he knew the Giants were going to win the Super Bowl the next year.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. So my point is that I can understand Jason's feelings in the moment right now, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's what's to be moving forward. This team hasn't even began to be reconstructed yet. Like we haven't hit free agency, the draft, or any of this yet. So yeah, I guess if the team presently constructed were to remain the same, or what have you, losing players, I could see all the doubt being there. But until I get through the offseason, until I get through free agency and the draft, I'm yet to determine that the season next year shouldn't be a championship type of season, or I shouldn't have those type of aspirations. Like, why wouldn't I? I have one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I got some of the best skill position guys in the league. I got one of the best offensive lines in the league. We need to add a running back to the offense. And what you need to do is add adequate players on defense that can at least get a stop when need be. But this team is going to be led by the offense. This team is going to be led by the offense next year. What about this offense I shouldn't believe in? I don't understand that with everybody here who has doubt, because it's really saying you have doubt in the quarterback and the skill guys. We're dressing it up and all this other stuff. That all play calling and getting used to a new signal call and all. It's a bunch of hogwash. If we really believed in the guys on that side of the football, then you wouldn't lower your standards. And that's where I'm at. I'm not lowering my standards because I know what I have on that side of the football.
You know what? I agree with everything you're saying. And
well, that's good. You should. I mean, if you didn't, then you're giving up on your son.
No, but when I heard what Jason said, he also feels that way. But what I'm saying to you is that I feel that there's still some things that has to be dealt with before we can get to that point.
Okay. And I guess all I'm saying is that I believe that's what we're going to get to.
Appreciate it, OG.
I guess that's what I'm saying. He's saying he needs to wait and see it, is what he's saying. He needs to see these things being done before he believes in it. And that's fine. I'm just saying, hey, I haven't seen anything significant enough that I'm concerned about the locker room.
Well, also,
there's this nonsense about Jalen and AJ until I don't know anything here that's concrete. So what am I worried about there?
We don't know.
Yeah, so unless there's something there that I need to, this tangible, that I could say, okay, this can't be overcome. They need to talk this out. I don't even know what the hell issue is. If we're just talking about ineffectiveness on the offense or missing a guy on a route or what have you, that stuff changes the next year when you actually throw the guy the ball. Guy had over 100 and some targets last year. 1,500 yards. He had one of the best receiving years in Eagles history. You can't be mad about production on the field. Now, overall results, okay, but that can change year to year. So I'm going to assume that's going to be worked out this offseason.
Because if it's not, I mean, it's
as far as chemistry goes. I mean, what else can I left to assume?
Well, it's also hard to talk about because we don't know, and it's all like hearsay. So it is what it is. Maybe there's something going on. Maybe there's not. But we'll know.
Listen, AJ said they're straight.
They're good.
So
believe him or not, whatever.
Yes, I don't want to hear. Here's what I don't want to do from my perspective. He answered it. He said they're straight. I'm gonna take him at his word. They're straight. So I can move on from that thought process now, unless I see something else.
215-592-9494 is how
I can do.
Is how you get in for a $25 Dunkin' Donuts gift card. Obviously, John Ritchie gave us a moment yesterday. And just to relive it one more time, here's John Ritchie yesterday on the morning show.
This is like uncharted territory for me to be like unable to function.
Were you in Joe DeCamera territory of
Absolutely.
Did you cry? Did you cry?
I was bawling. I was bawling.
A lot of people did. I know they did.
I mean, this is really I'm laughing at myself a little bit because I can't control it now.
Wow.
This morning, talking to Joe Wechter, we're walking in. He said, "How you doing?"
Yeah.
Again, I'm trying to laugh this off.
It's not funny. I don't know how to react.
It's all good, man. It's all good. Look,
This is affecting me so much more than it should.
Why do you think that
Because
is?
he was so much more to me than most players, and I identified with him.
Yep.
I think
Sure.
in a lot of ways that I didn't even realize.
So that was John Ritchie yesterday. And off of that, what Philly sports moment made you emotional? Maybe not like that. Maybe not a full-on man cry. Full-on man cries are perfectly fine. But a Philly sports moment that made you emotional. And
I'm sure you have one for us.
For sure. Because I was talking about, I think I get accused, I feel wrongfully, of not being an Eagles fan. Okay. Or maybe, not being a diehard. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I'm just saying that you want to talk about the pre-Super Bowl itch and feeling like they were never going to win, and could I ever envision the Eagles actually hoisting the Lombardi Trophy? I remember welling up the night that Carson tore his ACL. When Carson tore his ACL, I thought it was over. Now, when you talk about emotions, it doesn't have to all be it doesn't have to be negative. The Carson ACL was an emotional moment for me negatively because I was like, here we go. We're never going to catch a break. We're never going to hoist the Lombardi Trophy. The Carson Wentz torn ACL was definitely a Philly sports moment that made me emotional.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they made a lot of people emotional.
Besides you and John, man, you put the city on your back.
Well, I carry John with me there, so just make sure that's clear.
Okay, that's good.
But it doesn't mean that I didn't feel the whole disappointing and lump in your throat like, how the hell this always happened to us?
I felt cursed.
Yeah,
I legitimately
how
felt
does this
cursed.
always happen to us?
I'll never forget. The next morning, I was still at a Guy on Angelo's show.
Mm-hmm.
Guy called in and literally just was breaking down on the air.
Yeah,
talking about Carson tearing his ACL.
Yeah, it was devastating. And listen, I understand what Wentz eventually turned into, and I get how people eventually felt differently about him. But when you go back and look at the year that he had there, when you talk about a wow factor, a dominating factor, he was the story of the NFL that year. He was the most exciting player in the league that year at that position.
He was Josh Allen before Josh Allen.
Yes, he was. That's what he was doing that season. 33 touchdown passes in 13 games.
Yeah.
Like, that's what he did.
He set a franchise record.
Yeah, in 13 games.
And threw one of them on a torn ACL.
Yeah. Like, that was him.
God, doesn't everyone just miss that? I mean, how could you not miss Carson Wentz? How could you not? Buzz, do you have a moment for us that made you emotional?
Yeah, it was the Phillies finally making the playoffs in 22. I mean, that
you welled up a little bit?
That caught me a little bit. I was watching at home. It had been 11 years. I had watched way too many regular season baseball games that I'd care to admit from 12 through 21, and it was like, wow, they finally did it. Even more so than like going to the World Series or Bedlam or anything like that. It was like, wow, they actually turned that corner. There were so many times I believed they would do it and they didn't.
Yeah.
So when they finally had that celebration in Houston, it was kind of similar to, Hoskins in his interview there down on the field.
Yeah.
That one actually like stopped me in my tracks a little bit and I was like, wow, I'm kind of speechless watching them actually make the playoffs for once. I mean, it felt like it'd been forever.
Well, it's kind of funny because I remember I was like, I'm not gonna be that emotional. Like, all they do is win one game in Houston. Like if they don't make it this time, it's a collapse.
Well, you almost feel like, did you feel like they would get back?
I was like, when they officially lost. I'm talking about when they got in, like when they just made the playoffs, because that was also down in Houston.
Yeah. Oh no, you're right. That's right. That wasn't Houston.
Yeah. And I was like,
Houston wasn't playing anybody.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And they congratulated the Phillies.
Exactly.
Yes.
And the Phillies backed their way into the playoffs that year. Like, they weren't playing well. And I was like, is it really going to mean anything? And then as soon as the guys started playing Dancing on My Own and Reese was crying on the field, I was like, you know what?
Yeah, this means everything.
It means everything.
They've missed
to me.
11 years in a row. And like so many times, like that 20 season, they couldn't even make the expanded playoffs in the COVID year.
It was sickening.
Like they just missed so many times that it was like, wow, they finally got over that hump.
215-592-9494 for the Dunkin' Donuts gift card. Give us a Philly sports moment, good or bad, that made you emotional. And the big topic of the day is your pre-2017 itch for a Super Bowl back. It went away for a little bit. Don't lie to me. Is it back now with this Eagles team? It's not for me. I'm still in the mode of, this is good. I'm fine. I got my Super Bowl, and I can take a few more years before it's like, Eagles. It's not back yet. Is it back for you? Get in now on the afternoon show, Sports Radio 94 WIP.